This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. Yep, I got it open. I thought I had the mic closed. Howdy, Ira. How you feeling, my man?
I'm feeling as good as one can feel for 47 minutes, 59.3 seconds of basketball. I'd put it that way.
No, I mean, listen, if I wanted to break it down in simplistic fashion, I'm going to say your wins are against Charlotte, Detroit, and Washington. Your losses are the Magic, the Knicks, and the Kings. And there's, unfortunately, we have a trend that is developing early on in the season, and the Heat are finding themselves to be a middling team. And guess what they've been the last 2 years? A middling team. So the question is there enough star power to get you out of being middling?
No. And you know what, Big O? When I wrote my Ask Ira at sunsettle.com this morning, I can't tell you how much that game reminded me of the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, where you're almost good enough, but not quite. Because you know what? The Dolphins played a very good game on Sunday. Mostly, they did. The Heat played a very good game on Monday. Mostly, they did. The Dolphins put themselves in position to win. They did. The Heat put themselves in position to win. They did. But Big O, you know this from covering so many teams down here. The good teams find a way to win. The not so good teams find a way to lose. Dolphins give up just enough, field goal, lose. Heat do just enough, put back basket, lose. That's the difference. When you're good but not good enough. And you know this, Big O, and your listeners know that, and everyone in the Accurate Pembroke Pines Report knows this. To be stuck in that place is a terrible place to be, because you can convince yourself, as the Dolphins are now with their record trying to convince themselves, as the Heat this summer tried to convince themselves that they still can be good enough. It's a tough place for players, for coaches, for management, because you're almost there. Well, you know what almost gets you in the NFL? Maybe a first-round playoff game, lost in Kansas City and done. In the NBA, maybe the play-in, lost in the first round and done. That's the thing. It's a very, very difficult position to be in.
And meanwhile, on the ice, we watch a team that overcomes all kinds of shit. Even with Kachuk and Barkov out, they still win. You want to throw in Knight at goaltender? They still win. They find ways to win. InterMiami. Whoa, what a different front office it is nowadays. Messi, Rojas, Suarez, they got to go off on international play. Well, guess what? Campana and the boys take over off the bench, and they continue to win. There is a difference when your front office and ownership has done a marvelous job of stacking your roster and prepared for those rainy days, and your stars are stars. And that's the problem with the Heat and the Dolphins, that the stars aren't necessarily stars all the time. And that's a problem for your teams, because the Panthers and InterMiami, their stars are always stars.
Well, and that's the thing. You have Kachuk, you have Barkov, you have Bobrovsky playing career best Vezina Trophy level again.
Reinhardt, Bennett,
but even those top three, the Heat don't have anything to match that.
No.
The Dolphins don't have anything to match that, depending what you're doing or not with Tyreek, and that's the difference. All sports are about stars. When your stars come out to play and shine their brightest, that's when you know what you are or what you're not. Tyler Hero, terrific first quarter scorer, good first half scorer, then not so much. Jimmy Butler's still limited to picking his spots when he decides, okay, I'll score 15 in the fourth quarter, but maybe not so much otherwise. Bam Adebayo picks on the Wizards. We all can pick on the Wizards. It's like being a bully. But against the level of competition, even like Domas Sabonis last night, it becomes a different thing. Look, they are good enough to be competitive. The Dolphins are good enough to be competitive. Is that where you want to live your life, in good enough?
No. Yeah. And that's why I kind of, and I told you that for me, this season is more about development. And so let's find out what we have with all these young guys And as a Heat fan, quietly, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm just going to pray that one of these young guys becomes a star, because that's almost like the saving grace that this team needs. That one of these cats becomes something that we haven't seen. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if we have that yet, but that to me is what I'm looking at night in and night out. I'm not thinking so much big picture about deep playoff runs anymore. I don't want to set myself up for that, because then I'm going to just let myself down because I'm not being unrealistic. But if I want to be realistic, all right, let's see if Jovic can grow, and let's see if Jaime can grow, and Pele Larson, and any of these young cats that they have. To me, that's what I'm watching from here on.
Well, you're also developing chips, because this is a trade league. So if Jaquez and Jovic and Larson and Ware and the young players become something, then you're restocked, which the Heat have not been for a while. Then all of a sudden you can go to a team that's getting rid of a veteran like a Portland and had a Damian Lillard at the time and saying, hey, we got these 3 young guys. You might be interested. So you're developing that also and trying to do that. It's a very tough thing to do in sports, to have a bridge year between having a player near the end of his career, still somewhat in his prime, and going to the next rendition. And that's what the whole Jimmy Butler thing is all about. So you could say last night, in a way, 27 points, strong in the fourth. Maybe a contender looks at that, Golden State, for example, and says, you know what? We've got Kuminga. We've got a couple of first-round picks coming up when we might not be so good. Maybe that's the alternative. You go in that direction. Such a fine line. What I like, Big O, is this. The Heat leave today for a 6-game trip. They're going to play Phoenix. They're going to play Denver. They're going to play Minnesota. They're going to play Indiana twice. We will know. Then they come back and play the Sixers. We will know 2 weeks from today, when we do an accurate Pembroke Pines report, then where they are and what they are. And let's be honest. If they compete with Phoenix, compete with Denver, compete with Minnesota, compete with Indiana, compete with Philadelphia, then you may pull back and go, Ira, I was wrong. This is a competitive group against quality. But if they don't, we can't sit around here and waiting to play Detroit again, and Charlotte again, and Washington again, and get those phony victories that create phony hope. The Heat are not as good as they were against Washington on Saturday. Washington is terrible and trying to lose. Starting 3 rookies, a second-year player, traded one of their best players because they want to win the lottery. They want to get Cooper Flag. It's a different kind of league. You can pad your stats in this league, but pad them, Big O, to what degree?
Yeah. Giannis, can we stop? I mean, how many times are we going to do this to ourselves? Like, I don't know why people do this. They don't have the ammo to make this kind of move. So if Giannis does become available, are you selling that hopium to the Heat Nation?
I'm not selling it, but I never count out, because I've seen too many times when they've gone deep or even pulled it off, so I can't. What I know is this. Giannis, for whatever reason, I don't think it would work, has always wanted to play with Bam Adebayo. I don't think their games would mesh, number one. But number two, it says Bam would not be in such a trade. I don't think that he'd have enough for all these other team with draft picks to get in there for a team that wants to reload, so I don't see that working. The question is, if Milwaukee keeps tanking like this, you're going to hear Giannis. You're going to hear Dame Lillard. And the Bucks should consider it, just like the Heat should with Jimmy Butler, if you wind up mired in the morass. So, yes, those names will be out there. But that's what the Knicks are poised for. That's what teams like the Rockets are poised for with their first-round picks. That's what Oklahoma City, although I wouldn't want to play him over Chet Holmgren at this point, but that's what OKC is primed for. I don't see the Heat having the chips, but you know what? Milwaukee might also have to wind up selling low, because Giannis is 31, no longer plays defense, isn't the same player because Dame Lillard is 35, still has 3 years left on an expensive contract. So who knows? They might be in play. I would not get too caught up if I'm the Heat. The Heat have to make a decision on what they are. If they want to stay with the current team and run it out one more season, hey, with Jimmy in a potential contract year, I'm fine with that. But to keep going through the veterans and retarding the youth, the young players, I don't think that makes much sense at this stage, at least.
All right. That's because to me it just and again, you need more 3-point shooting, and with him and Bam, and I mean Butler.
You can't do that. It won't work. You're right. Giannis and Jimmy and Bam doesn't work because you're all meeting each other in the lane. It becomes clogged. It's like trying to park 3 cars in a 2-car garage. You're not going to be able to pull it off there. It's almost too clogged now when they've gotten away from their pace and space because they all want to beat the lane, and Bam needs to be there, and Jimmy needs to be there. So they tried to create something, gave us a delightful little preseason. Now we'll see the coaching genius that you always talk about of Eric Spoelstra. How can he get this group past the Suns and the Nuggets and the Timberwolves and the Pacers? Going to be kind of fascinating.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. What'd you think of what do you think of Pelle Larsson?
I love Pelle Larsson, and it's interesting because I knew we'd get into this discussion. And here's the difference. People are going, wait, Ira, wait, Big O, wait, Accurate Pembroke Pines Report. We drafted a guy at 15, we're not playing him, and there's a guy at 44, and we are. Here's the difference. If a player is polished and ready to play, Eric Spoelstra will play him. From day one, Jaime Jaquez Jr., 4-year player at UCLA, was in the rotation. Pelle Larsson is a 4-year collegian who has been through it all, seen it all at the highest level. He is ready. Now, I'm not saying that Pelle Larsson is more skilled or more talented or more athletic than Kel'el Ware, but he has NBA-ready skills from what you're showing me now, the three-pointer, to some defensive grit. He's ready now. That's why. Eric Spoelstra is not gifting minutes. If you're ready, you will play. Pelle Larsson is ready. He's going to play. Kel'el Ware still needs to grow. You know, he's basically played 2 years in college, really one because at Oregon he was phased out. He still needs to grow. There's a big difference between 23 and 20 at this stage in the NBA. Kel'el will grow. Pelle is ready. That was another hell of a second-round pick for the Heat. Sort of like a guy he played alongside yesterday, Josh Richardson, when Josh Richardson went number 40 out of Tennessee in 2015. This Heat team does have a way of finding those players. Adam Simon, Chet Kammerer.
I've liked Larsson since I saw him. He's got an NBA body already. His body is developed already at this point, which is also pretty cool. He plays with confidence, and he can stroke it from the outside.
Gusto. You know what? I don't think it's coincidence, Big O. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is it coincidence that he was given number 9? Or was he given number 9 with a certain player in mind? Because, man, he has a bunch of Dan Marley in him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. That's what I'm telling you. He plays with moxie, bro. I like him. There's something about him. He's got dog in him. And I just kind of like what I see from him. And I'm watching the game last night, and he's like, you know, one of the few bright spots because I was watching that game late night. It just, wow, dude. I really like this kid. And I know what's gastronitis or whatever the hell.
Jaime Jaquez, the Mexican heritage guy in the team, goes to Mexico and apparently drinks the water. If anyone you thought would have been smarter than that, Jaime Jaquez misses the game. Big O, to go back to Pelle, though, now it's interesting.
But he's an American Mexican. So
okay, but his lineage tells him.
You know, he doesn't live there. You know, those people can drink it.
You should know better. But the thing about Larsson, it's going to be interesting, is we both know Eric Spoelstra likes veterans. So he has Josh Richardson on his roster in his 30s. He has Alec Burks on his roster in his 30s. I'll be curious to see when Jaime Jaquez Jr. comes back, if Pelle stays ahead of those other two in the rotation. I would love to see that. Because, again, you're getting a glimpse of a potential future. You're getting a glimpse of the next. That, hey, if Jimmy does move on in a trade, in free agency, you know what? With Jaime and with Pelle, you'll at least have a pipeline to help at least plug the dike, if not maybe even push ahead and give you something else. So I would like to see Pelle in the rotation, but I know Spo and veterans. I'll be very curious.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm guilty of something here also. Because I want the Heat to succeed, I want them to have, I want them to have big time success. And I just told you, I'm hoping for a star to pop out of nowhere. And that's probably why I'm reaching a little bit for Larsson or any of these guys, because I'm hoping that one of these guys, because that hasn't happened to the Heat where they get a guy in the second round that becomes like a stud, like for other teams that have had that beautiful luck of finding a guy that all of a sudden became an absolute star for them. Was
Jokic, a Ginobili, guys like that. And again,
was Klay Thompson a second rounder also?
I think Klay went earlier. I'm not totally sure, but I think he might have gone earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, he might have gone earlier. But I mean, well, actually, no, it was Draymond Green that was their second round.
And the Heat actually had a chance out of Michigan State that year, and that's what makes the difference in a salary cap world when you find a player like that.
Right, and that's what I want the Heat to find that guy, get that break
Totally
for him,
understand.
because
Mhm.
they've either had to draft him early or they've had to trade for him. That's basically the way it's happened. They've had solid second-round picks and, hell, a solid third-round pick in Grant Long years ago. But overall, they haven't hit on that second-round pick that's become like a flat-out star. You know what I mean? That would be
I
pretty.
don't want to overproject off of one game, but there's hope and optimism there. And hey, he hit the game winner in summer league, so there's that too.
Oh, I really like the kid. I'm just hoping that whether it's Jaquez or whoever, dude, I don't care. I'm hoping that they get lucky for once, because he kind of need that break, because you and I know they don't have a lot of first round picks. They don't have a lot of flexibility. They've put themselves in a corner for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years now, where they don't really have a ton of flexibility and they can't compete with other people for top-notch talent. They kind of need this break, dude. That's all.
And maybe we'll see it there. I agree.
Let's hope so, man. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. What do you got going on in the Sentinel, by the way?
Well, I just wrote a story about, everyone's talking about it, the third quarter, the third quarter, how they've been ghastly coming out of the break. I equate it to this for the baseball followers out there. A lot of times when a team goes through the lineup the first time against a pitcher, they have to get a read on his stuff. Right. When they come back up, they know what the pitcher has. They know what they expect to face. They know whether it's the screwball or the slider, and they're more locked in. What I contend is the same starting lineup that plays well for the Heat in the first quarter and has been awful for the Heat starting the third quarter is the other team goes, oh, we can go with this Jovic guy. We can go with Tyler Hero. We can pick on Terry Rozier. We can formulate something to really pick at the scabs there. So I don't know whether Spo starts a different lineup in the second half, in the third quarter. I think he needs to go to a new starting lineup anyway. I think they could still get off to better starts. I think Haywood Highsmith over Jovic, I know you like him. We're talking about youth, but you need a little more defense. The defense is awful in the first unit.
Makes
and
sense.
I still think that Terry Rozier would be better off the bench because he so duplicates so much of Tyler Hero that he can't be his best self. I also think we saw glimpses of this Monday night. Duncan Robinson plays so well with Bam Adebayo. You've got to get those two on the court more together. When Duncan is out there without Bam, he's simply not the same player. So again, you can go with the phony 3-3 record and going, hey, Ira, they're one of only 5 teams in the East at 500 or better. Or else you could be honest with yourself and say, come on, it was against the Hornets. It was against the Pistons. It was against the Wizards. This is no good. We need to change it up now. Be very curious to see if we see an evolution of the rotation during this 6-game road trip.
All right, good stuff, Ira. As always, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeats and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Safe travels, my brother. We will catch up next Tuesday.
Actually,
right?
next Monday. I'm going to get you next Monday in Minnesota when I'll be outside of my Speedo. So you want to catch that on the Acura Pembroke Pines Report, folks.
And it'll be 7 a.m. for us in L.A. Woo, that'll be a fun Monday.
9 a.m. for us in Minnesota. We'll catch you then on the Acura Pembroke Pines Report. Thank you, Big O.
You got it, Ira. Thank you, sir. And don't forget, visit our friends at Acura of Pembroke Pines. They've always got it going on. Larry Schlossberg, Pat Nasto, Tony Stampone, all the great people out there getting it done at the finest dealership, the finest Acura dealership on the planet, 15601 Pines Boulevard. The 2025 Integra right now, $339 a month. You can get 3.9% financing for 60 months. The ZDX, you can get electrified. We've got the 2024 models in, $339 for Conquest and Loyalty customers. And for all approved leases, $479 a month for the ZDX. That thing is awesome. Gets like 320 miles to the charge. You take the charger home with you. That's it. You'll never have to go to a gas station again and touch that dirty-ass gas pump. It's a beautiful thing. The RDX, my wife drives one every day for the last 14 years. You can get the 2024 for $379 a month, 3.9% financing. By the way, for the ZDX, you can get 0.9% financing for 72 months. So get on down there, go see the boys. If you own or lease an Acura, man, Mike Chan, Jordan Ferber, they do an awesome job. They take care of you. And by the way, the lobby is fantastic where you can hang out, that lounge. Got TVs, you got a cafeteria, complimentary water. They just roll out the red carpet for their customers at Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.